Quote love, unquote. by New Amsterdam. Chapter 22. Kirishima feels the story go through him like an earthquake, stares down at his shaking hands long after Bakugou has finished speaking. Every word has prompted new questions, and now they all gather on his tongue like passengers, fighting to get off at a subway train. He doesn't know what to say first. They've stood just feet apart the entire time, neither of them daring to cross the distance between them, as they piece together a history they didn't know they shared, or, at least, Kirishima hadn't known. Bakugou, it turns out, is another matter entirely. "You knew," he says, voice hoarse, even though Bakugou has been doing most of the talking. "You knew who I was, when we met." One of the sleeves of Bakugou's hoodie has slipped, revealing the pale skin of his shoulder as he stands with his hands crossed over his chest. Kirishima has never thought of him as a duplicitous person, knows he has too much pride to hide the truth of himself. So why had it taken him so long to say all of this? "I knew you were a singer." Bakugou looks straight at him, red eyes burning. "It was a stupid press thing, to be seen with more people. Agakure had wanted to see Ashido the night you guys played with Present Mike. I was there too." Kirishima remembers standing on the red carpet with Bakugou months ago, spinning a story for the press about how they'd met and fallen in love. But Bakugou had really been there, had seen that concert and him on stage. "It was so fucking stupid," Bakugou grumbles. "Your hair was different, and you were smiling. But I was sure it was you. But you weren't singing, so what was the point?" Kirishima's face is burning. He's sure his cheeks and ears are dyed a furious red. But Bakugou knows that story now. After all, it was Bakugou who helped him find his courage. "And then I went to that party, and you were there." Bakugou is still talking, spitting out the words like he's mad about them. Knowing him, he probably is. "Just standing there, looking like deer in the headlights. I saw you talking with Uraka, and I knew. I just didn't understand why. Not until later." He stares Kirishima down, demanding the explanation that's already been given. But maybe Bakugou still doesn't understand what it is to feel shame and embarrassment, to have everyone look at you with pity instead of admiration. Kirishima tilts his head back and laughs, eyes pressing shut. Images flash through his mind, recontextualizing the past few months. On stage with Riot, looking out over an anonymous crowd. But no, there's Bakugou sitting with Agakure. At the rooftop party, heart caught in his throat as Bakugou approaches him. But now Bakugou isn't an unattainable celebrity. He's someone who's been scanning crowds for Kirishima's face for years. "So, what?" Kirishima's voice bubbles out of his throat, a wispy and desperate thing. "Why didn't you say anything? Were you just screwing with me?" He knows Bakugou is capable of cruelty. He just didn't think it would be ever directed at him. "Don't be fucking stupid," Bakugou demands, arms dropping to his sides and hands balling into fists. "I didn't know you then. How was I supposed to know someone would see us that night? It was Sero's stupid idea for us to start dating, not mine." "Right." Kirishima's smile is thin and watery. "What a stupid idea." Bakugou lets out a growl from deep in his throat, throwing up his hands in frustration. "Stop it! Stop fucking twisting everything like that. I knew your music, okay? I listened to it over and over again, and it meant something to me. So yeah, I wanted to know you too. I agreed to Sero's plan. How was I supposed to know you cared who I was? You ran the fuck away the first we met." Kirishima presses a fist against his mouth, as though that could possibly hold everything he's feeling. It's like his current self is melting away, his red hair fading to black, spikes falling to lank strands, tattoos peeling off his skin, his shoulders curling inward anxiously, his gaze dropping down to the floor. I wasn't anyone you should have noticed. Kirishima speaks to the floor, not to Bakugo's face. If Kirishima is falling back into himself, Bakugo is growing more agitated, his anger radiating out from him in waves. How many times do I have to tell you to cut that crap? Newsflash, asshole. I liked your music. I fell in love with you. You think I'm the kind of person who'd do all this shit for someone who wasn't worth it? Bakugou Katsuki fell in love with him. It sounds like a line out of a fairy tale, out of the elaborate fantasies of Kirishima's dreams. But those dreams were safe, insulated away from the world. Kirishima could spin them out as far as his imagination could take him, and never get hurt by them. When he's silent for a moment too long, Bakugou crosses the space between them and grabs onto Kirishima's shoulders, shaking him roughly. What the hell are you thinking, huh? Why are you making that face? Kirishima has no idea what sort of expression he's making, but he knows it's not the brash smile that's become so natural over the past few months. In a lot of ways, the person who wears that smile is fake. He's a person who can march his way up to Kayama Nemori and demand she take a chance on an untested band. He's a person who can open for Present Mic and Sun Eater, who can sing alongside Ashido on stage. He's a person who can stand beside Bakugou Katsuki, take his hand and kiss his lips, and feel like he belongs there. Right now, Kirishima is not that person. And maybe that's why his breathing is going shallow, why he can feel the bitter sting of tears behind his eyes. Bakugou's grip on his shoulders tightens, 10 individual points of bruising pressure. I didn't know, okay? Bakugou's voice cracks with desperation, like he doesn't know what else to do. I didn't know they were for a fucking audition, not until Ashido said it tonight. You can have them back if you're mad, but just fucking say something. It figures that Bakugou would assume he was angry. But what had Bakugou really done wrong? Picked up some CDs from the trash? Not told Kirishima that he knew the stupid, pathetic kid he'd been? Really, he'd done Kirishima a favor. Bakugou lets out a strangled, frustrated sigh. He lets go of Kirishima's shoulders, only to grab his arms and pull him forward into a fierce hug. His chin rests atop Kirishima's hair, his strong arms wrapped around his torso and squeezing with all his strength. Kirishima almost doesn't know whether Bakugou is trying to communicate something or squeeze the life out of him. There's no denying the ferocious love in this embrace. Kirishima is buoyed by Bakugou's love, his utter conviction in how he feels. It's all the things that Kirishima has always admired about him. His wealth of emotion, his utter surety, his confidence. Bright as the blazing sun, it should warm every inch of Kirishima. But he's still cold. Slowly, so slowly, he peels himself out of Bakugou's arms and takes a step back. Bakugou gapes at him, eyebrows narrowing dangerously over his red eyes. I don't believe you, Kirishima says, voice a hushed whisper. What? Bakugou's face contorts with anger, with confusion. What the hell are you talking about? A few stray tears escape and make their way down Kirishima's cheeks. You say you love me, but I don't believe you. I can't believe you. There's silence for a moment, as Bakugou blinks at him. Shadows flicker across his face, his features left in neutral as his brain tries to register what he's just heard. Excuse me? Kirishima thinks of the person he's been when Bakugou had first seen him. A person rooted to the ground like a tree, but lacking any strength or conviction. Someone whose dreams were right in front of him, but who couldn't take the final step to reach out and grab them. Someone lonely and pathetic. You're amazing, Kirishima says with sincerity. You've always been. No matter how much closer you have gotten, I've only felt it more. You're smart and confident, and you're so goddamn beautiful, and you care so much about everything you do. You put your heart out there, even if most people can't see it. And it's incredible. Bakugou's face colors a rosy pink, the heat of anger making way for the glow of embarrassment. So why would someone like you ever love someone like me? It just doesn't make sense. I don't get it. Why? Why would you ever love me? The words crush him as he speaks them, an indictment not of Bakugou but of himself. He's not worth this. He's not the person that all this light and brightness should be focused on. He thought he'd been in control of how Bakugou saw him, of how everyone saw him. He'd worked so hard to reinvent himself, to become the person he desperately wants to be. But this entire time, all these months, Bakugou was seen through the confident, happy, and decisive Kirishima to the pathetic, insecure, useless person he really is. Kirishima hadn't fooled him at all. And the person he really is, that person could never, ever be worthy of Bakugou. You must think I'm really fucking stupid. Bakugou's voice is thick as smoke. He bristles like a startled cat. He backs up a step from Kirishima, and the two of them hear an ominous crack. Bakugou's eyes widen, and he turns abruptly to see the CD cases that had fallen to the floor, to see a second crack running through the one on top. He grabs the CDs up from the floor, snaps open the broken case to examine the CD inside, but it's too late. The CD itself is snapped in half. Shit, Bakugou says, holding the two pieces in hand. The sharp ends draw blood from his fingertips. Fuck! Leave it, Kirishima says, reaching for him. He almost wishes he'd stomped on the CDs himself. They're emblematic of everything he hates about himself. Bakugou flinches back like Kirishima's touch has burned him. Get the fuck away from me! He clutches the CDs against his chest. Bakugou, Kirishima says. But he can't think of how to follow that up. What is there left to say, now that Bakugou knows all the worst parts of him? No! Bakugou spits out, shaking his head. Fuck that. Fuck you. You think I'm stupid enough to love someone who doesn't deserve it? You think it would make me happy, hearing about how you think I'm so damn great and you're the worst? Get away. Kirishima tries to get closer, but Bakugou shoves him with one hand, the other still gripping the ruined pieces of the CD. I didn't mean it like that, Kirishima cries out. And now the tears are falling in earnest, clogging up his throat and his brain. He can't think, can't feel past the ache that's going through his entire body. He doesn't know how he expects this to end. All he knows is that everything else seems like some stupid game of pretend, and he can't keep playing. It's my own goddamn fault, Bakugou mutters, biting down on his lower lip. He takes a deep, shuddering breath, but he's shaking with rage regardless. Then, get out! What? Kirishima wildly rubs at his tears, at the snot dripping from his nose. You've heard me. Get the hell out of my apartment. I don't want you here. They've slept together every night since Kirishima's been back in the city. He doesn't know how to wake up without the other half of the bed still warm from Bakugou. Doesn't know how to fall asleep without hearing Bakugou's heartbeat. Kirishima's voice is caught in a sob, and then he can't stop. The tears are coming. His shoulders are shaking with it. It feels like it will never stop. Do whatever the hell you want, Bakugou mutters murderously. But don't blame it on me. You feel like shit about yourself. It's not my fault. You could have told me, Kirishima says accusingly, hurt trying to harden itself into anger. Would it have been any different if I had? Bakugou roars. Or would you still think of yourself as some useless, stupid piece of shit? That's exactly what he thinks of himself. And if Bakugou had told him sooner, they wouldn't have gotten this far. Kirishima would have balked at the prospect of pretending to date him, or he would have pulled back when he realized he was falling too far. But all the pretense, all the moments when he could tell himself it wasn't real, it had shielded him from this, the truth that he's been hiding from. He wants to be a part of Bakugou's world, wants to be someone who reaches people with his words and his music. But he doesn't know how to do either of those things, not really. And more importantly, he doesn't deserve it. He turns and heads for the door, wordlessly. Yeah, that's right, Bakugou spits at him. Get out! You can't fucking play me like this, you asshole. I told you everything. Somewhere in the ruins of Kirishima's hollow heart, a voice tells him to turn around. If he goes to Bakugou now and apologizes, begs Bakugou to forgive him, maybe they can move past this. Maybe he'll still have Bakugou, and maybe that will be enough. But Kirishima knows deep down that won't solve what he's feeling. It won't fill him with courage or conviction, at least not the type that will last. He's been leeching off Bakugou's strength for months now, has let himself ride high on the feeling of Bakugou tolerating him, caring for him, loving him. But in the end, none of that adds up to him loving himself. Maybe Bakugou is waiting for him to turn around, because he shouts after him. I never want to see your fucking face again. Do you hear me? Kirishima rests his hand against the doorknob, turns it slowly, and makes his way out into the hallway. Wood-paneled walls and plush carpet greet him in the hall of Bakugou's apartment building. It takes him mere moments to reach the elevator. Bakugou's voice rings in his ears all the while, and Kirishima focuses on it because, as harsh as it is, it's a reprieve from how he wants to rake himself over the coals for what he's just done. He gets home and ignores Kaminari's questioning comments, Jiro's murmur that Ashido isn't home yet. He doesn't have the capacity to speak or explain himself or care about anyone else. He falls forward onto his bed, pulls a pillow over his head, and only then does he start crying again, for the person he's just lost, and the person he'll never truly be.